Hello, I'm Toby Johnson, and I'm going to take less than 5 minutes to help you think biblically about an issue related to the COVID-19 crisis. This week I want to talk to you about discernment. To discern anything is to separate information or ideas. It means to distinguish that which is true from that which is false, to separate what's right from what's wrong. And for the Christian, discernment is critical because there's no shortage of ideas in this world. Ideas about morality, about God, about truth. And what are we to do when we're confronted with these ideas, especially when the ones presenting the ideas seem to have great intellect or great authority? How are we to respond? Are we just to shrug our shoulders and say, well, it must be true? Well, no. Christians aren't to take human ideas in like a sponge. The only words and ideas we take in like a sponge are God's words and ideas. And we do that because He is perfectly holy. He cannot lie. He will never mislead us. When it comes to human ideas, though, we must not be a sponge, but a sieve. We must sift through the ideas we encounter. We must examine them carefully. We must separate what's true from what's false. Tim Challies once wrote that discernment will separate the mature from the immature, the naive from the prudent. The writer of the Hebrews says much the same, that those who are spiritually mature have their powers of discernment trained by constant practice to distinguish good from evil. If we're going to be mature, if we're going to be wise, if we're not going to be tossed this way and that way by every wind that blows in town and by every post that blows up social media, then we need discernment. Now you say, well, that's all well and good, but what does this have to do with COVID-19? Does discernment really apply in this pandemic? And the answer is yes. Let me explain. First, by giving you an example. There's a commercial out right now, and during that commercial, the narrator says this: at a time when things are most uncertain, we turn to the most certain thing there is, science. Now, science is wonderful. It was born out of a Christian worldview, and it's incredibly important at this particular moment during this pandemic. We are counting on scientific discovery and breakthrough for even a vaccine at this point. But is science the most certain thing that there is? What is true? Well, that takes discernment. Secondly, let me point out a dangerous combination right now. The combination of our media and our society. Any news outlet, whether it's labeled conservative or liberal, represents a particular worldview. It has a particular perspective. It even has an agenda. Now, that's always true, but it's especially important to remember during a pandemic when values and ideas are in the forefront. And then couple that with a society where people seem to be less committed to thinking. A culture where people get their news from the headline of an article, a provocative headline, or they just read part of a quote that's attributed to someone important. Even though the quote's incomplete and it's out of context still, and it's taken as gospel truth. This combination of news agencies with agendas and people who are less committed to thinking is dangerous. It's always dangerous, but it's especially dangerous in a pandemic because people are looking for answers. People are looking for solutions. And without thinking, without discernment, they'll end up taking in anything that comes their way like a sponge. Dear Christian, you must not be a sponge. You must be one who thinks. In this pandemic, go beyond headlines. Watch for worldviews. Beware of fear-mongering. Be perceptive about how statistics are reported and used. Pray like Solomon did when he became king. He wanted an understanding mind so that he could be discerning. We need the same thing too. Thanks for watching this Fireside Chat. For more information on Gray Road Baptist Church, go to grayroad.com. I invite you to join us this Sunday morning at 10:30 for our online worship service. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on Facebook, and you can find it on the front page of our website. But until next time, stay steady.